it's great to have this discussion this morning, and I think it's timely. The film and animation industries in Jamaica has been in many ways a leader in the creative industries in Jamaica. It's perhaps not recognized sufficiently as such, but in terms of when we have started to produce film in Jamaica and be recognized as a force to reckon with, if you check the timing, it's right up there with music and some other creative industries as well. So this morning, we're talking about film and animation, and we're talking about it in the context of our reality that we live in now. Persons call it the new normal, whatever that means, and whatever that will settle down to be. But certainly, life as we know it, business as we have come to know it, everything as we have come to know it has changed this year, has belly upped this year, and we have been forced to pivot as business persons. We have been forced to pivot as citizens. We have been forced to pivot as families. Every aspect of our life has really been affected by this COVID pandemic. What has that pivot looked like for the film and animation industry? What are some of the opportunities that would have emerged because of this crisis? How do we make good business? What does a good business model for film and animation entrepreneurs look like in the context of where we are? There's an article that was shared with me by Susan that was done by CNBC very recently in May, and they were talking about the fact that Hollywood really has now to change how it is that they operate in general. Many films, blockbusters that were in train have had to postpone operation. Some have had to completely change their plans in terms of how it is that they had planned to film, to present the film itself, thinking about the crowds and that type of thing, which is no longer going to be an option, certainly in the near future. That we're talking about changing of scripts in some instances, you know? So the industry has really been shaken up completely. So this session, what we want to focus on more than anything else is what is the realities within the film and animation industry as it presently exists in this. Is not post-COVID. Persons are calling it post-COVID, but we're still day and night, and we're going to be in it for a while. In this scenario, what are some of the opportunities that are available to entrepreneurs in this scenario or outside of this scenario? How it is that we need to position our business and our business model such that we can maximize the benefit of the opportunities that are existing. So this morning, we are happy to present, like I said, I believe the 12th edition of our In Concert series. And we are particularly excited this morning to be partnering with our sister agency, JAMPRO, to present it. And of course, JAMPRO has been a leader in regards to the film and animation industry, certainly from the public sector perspective, for a while. And it's an excellent segue actually into our first presenter, but let me just tell you that we have put in place for you a really exciting panel with some really deep and wide scope of experiences and expertise to discuss with you this morning. It's going to be an exciting morning, and we're really looking forward to it. Before I introduce my first panelist, who is Ms. Renee Robinson. David, can you share with us the results of the poll so we know what's going on? There you go. So based on where we're at, we have 40% of our participants are freelancers. Interestingly, the gender balance is very interesting. We have 53% female in the room. I must share with you that this is the highest percentage of male participants that we have ever had in this series, which is interesting. Age group is the average, the highest grouping of is for age group is between 25 and 34. Again, that's interesting, and it tells a lot about where we are in this particular industry, because the other creative industries, just to share with you, the sessions that we have had, the highest age group was between 35 and 44. And most of you are, in fact, writers, which is great. So, again, welcome, and it's great for you to be here this morning to share with us. So let me introduce our very first presenter who will share with you this morning. I told you her name is Renee Robinson. She is the Film Commissioner of Jamaica, and Renee is a multilingual creative economy strategist. I didn't know that you speak many languages, Renee, how I say, and a thought leader. She has worked in Canada, Europe, USA, South Africa, and the Caribbean within the verticals of film, television, digital media, arts and culture, entertainment, and communication. Renee comes to us with a wealth of knowledge. She also holds a MA in Communications and Culture with a specialization in the management of telecom innovation with joint coursework in the MBA in Arts Management from York University. Thank you so much for being here, Renee, and generally speaking, thank you so much for partnering with JBDC as the representative of JAMPRO on this panel this morning. So Renee, who is also my good friend, thank you so much, and it's your time to share.
All right, thank you, Harold. Thank you so much. And of course, it is absolutely a pleasure to partner with the JBDC. You know, we try to we try to collaborate with all of our sister agencies as much as possible. And so I also want to just recognize quickly my colleague from JAMPRO, Conrad Robinson, no relation, but he is my brother. And he is the head of our Western Region office. So Conrad, thank you also for partnering and being a part of this. I know you're going to be speaking a little bit later. So thank you. Harold, as you've said, so I'm the Film Commissioner of Jamaica. I am also the head of the Film, Animation and Music Unit at JAMPRO. So I'll just give a little brief overview of what we do. I imagine most people are very familiar already, but so essentially in this capacity, the Film Commission is responsible for two sides of the portfolio. So we work with international productions that are coming to shoot in Jamaica. So for example, many people will remember just recently Bond was here. So that would have been an initiative that, that we were leading on with the Ministry of Culture and with our tourism partners as well. And so that's the international production. We do about, maybe on average, we do about 100, 125 film productions per year that are coming into the island. And in our last fiscal, we were able to recognize that that resulted in the hiring of over 2,600 jobs in Jamaica for people. So we are monitoring, tracking, developing, and working with the international side of the facilitation of projects that are coming into the island and making sure that that economic impact is felt by you, by the persons who are working in the industry. On the other side of the work that we do as well is working on the developing of the local content ecosystem. And this is something that, you know, many people would have recognized that for a long time, Jamaica has had this, we've had this ethos of come and shoot on our shores, which is great and is important. But at the same time, there is this very, very important mandate for building out the opportunities and the building blocks for the local content system and the local content ecosystem. And, you know, we partner quite frequently and quite closely with JAFTA on that, and with JAN, so our industry associations, and as well with several international development agencies, to make sure that there is an opportunity for local content to be financed and produced here, but also that it has an opportunity to go into market. And so we've been leading quite a bit of market attendance opportunities, going to the various film festivals and trade markets, creating opportunities for people to have their work seen by sales agents, distributors, you know, financiers internationally. So really trying to hone in, making sure that the global business opportunities that exist are available to local practitioners who are at a, we call it, investment ready, commercially viable state. So we know there's a lot of development work that still needs to be done, and that is being done. And it is a slow process, and it is something that, you know, we do want to see advancing, and we're working to advance on that. But there's also a space for the segments of the Jamaican population that is, as I said, investment ready, commercially viable, to be able to advance into broader global business opportunities, broader business opportunities across the region. And so some of the initiatives that we work on are geared towards that. And then the third, so is really three legs we stand on. So the third area is the component that relates to investment, export, and trade. And so this is very heavily, this is the core of JAMPRO's work. And so we look at opportunities for the development of investment, export, trade, but specifically for the film, animation, and music sectors. And in this area, we look at job creation and job development. We look at capital expenditure, so very heavy econometric analyses type of activities. And some of those would be, for example, if there is a studio that is interested in establishing a physical presence in Jamaica, then that would come through us. So that's the scope of the work that we do. And then, of course, as you guys know, we participate in policy and advocacy, pushing forward on, you know, ways to improve and to increase opportunities for the industry, making sure that there is a business advocacy. You know, essentially, I try to tell people that our role is to help you clear some red tape. So that's the full scope of what we do. And I think some of the things that I've been noticing, and I want to spend a little bit more, and I'm only going to speak for a few minutes because I know that my fellow panelists have a lot to talk about in terms of their experience in this post-COVID time. And so what we're seeing at the macro level is, yes, production did get to a standstill. Production essentially halted for a while. And we've seen that locally, regionally, and globally. But what we've also seen are different opportunities that are now evolving and now emerging, and things that we're trying to get in front of. Harold, you had mentioned that there has been sort of this global shift, and the way that Hollywood has had to shift the way that it functions. And this is something that we were also a part of. So as the film commissioner, I sit with the Association of Film Commissioners International, which is the global body, the global industry body for film commissioners. And, you know, we represent commissioners all over the world. And so we were the body that, you know, essentially started to identify these best practices for how to get back to set. So you might have seen other countries starting to publish these new guidelines on what it means to get back to set and what are the health specifications and the guidelines. And so because I've been sitting on that, I've been able to bring some of that and working with JAFTA very, very closely on this. And so I really want to big them up and to recognize JAFTA's role in bringing those guidelines to Jamaica Jamaica, and in the future of helping to demonstrate that on set, we are slowly getting back to set. Our guidelines are in their final stages now, so you can look out for those to be published soon. So I'm giving you a little prips. I'm giving JBDC a prips of what is to come. And so these guidelines are going to be coming down the pipeline soon of what it will look like to be back on set. This is going to affect animation a little bit less because obviously a lot of the work is done remotely for animation or within, smaller, more contained spaces. But when you're on set and there's, up to 300 people and different call times and all of that kind of stuff, people are sharing equipment. So, there's catering that needs to be concerned about. So there's a lot of health guidelines that getting back to set we're going to have to try to implement in a very different way. And we're starting to see these things happen across the globe. And the opportunity that has arisen from that is that we're actually getting more inquiries now from international productions that recognized that, in their usual shooting locations, places in North America, places in Europe, they might not be so, yes, they're working on their guidelines as well, and yes, they do have that infrastructure, but those areas are prone because it's a metropolis. There's a greater population density, so those areas are prone to having additional outbreaks and further outbreaks. So they're looking for places where they actually can control how their businesses populate and how they move. And so in that sense, being an island nation that was able to nip this in the bud quite quickly and quite effectively has been a real pro for us. It has been something that we've started to see greater interest in. Okay, tell us what's happening in Jamaica. We hadn't really considered it before, but tell us what's happening in Jamaica now, because we can see how this could be this is a situation, this is an environment that we can work with. So that is an area of opportunity that we're seeing starting to arise. The other area of opportunity that has been arising, and I know that there have been members of JAFTA and JAN that have been able to participate in some of these areas, is we're starting to see a lot more interest in Afrocentric content, culturally specific content that has universal appeal. Some of this is relating to a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement that we're seeing across the globe. There are changes in the structure and the hierarchies, in the gatekeeping processes, in the awareness that we want as a globe. We want content that has cultural specificity to it. And so some of these opportunities are starting to arise now, where we are receiving inquiries from people that are saying, what are you producing in Jamaica? We think Jamaica has this global appeal. There's a global demand that can be filled here. So are you producing content that can meet what we need to program? And so we've been able to share some of those opportunities through the industry associations, call for content, call for entries, those types of things. I really want to encourage anybody who is watching right now, who is not as yet a member of your industry association, please join your industry association, because it is through these memberships that these opportunities get circulated. So that has been a really important thing that we're starting to see arise. And so we've been able to package we've been able to accept content, package it with the acknowledgement that, as JAMPRO does not own the rights to anyone's content, but we do have this facilitation role, and we do have this opportunity to be able to pass through and to be able to facilitate, so that, if you have investment ready, commercially viable content, we can get it seen by people who can help to advance your work. So that has been coming up as an area of opportunity, simply because the programming gaps are there. The production gap is there. People do need to be able to fill their programming slate with ready, finished content. So that is something that has been arising recently. And then the final thing that has been arising, which I want to share, and then I'll leave it there for now, is that we've actually been seeing a lot of interest as well in physical presence. So this is going back to the desire and the seeking of a safe space. So not just safe, convenient, effective, efficient, in order to temporarily produce content, and then leave, but also a very similar environment for people who want to be able to establish permanent physical presence, to set up production facilities, to set up hubs, and to be able to use the Caribbean as a geolocation, as a geopolitically located hub, a logistics hub, if you will, for content and for being able to access content from the larger global south, and to be able to use that as a way to get out into the mainstream north and European mainstreams. So those are the three areas of opportunity that we've been seeing at a macro level. So I just want to let people know, do not fear. The work is coming back. Our borders are reopening slowly and with very specific restrictions. The work is coming back. I have been seeing local productions starting to happen, and I'm very pleased to see that where there are local productions happening, that everyone is following the health protocols. So I'm really pleased to see that, and I just want to encourage everyone, keep at it. The work is coming back. We see people rescheduling their shoot dates now. We see people having interest in having both temporary and physical presence in the region. And we see people looking at Jamaica as a leader for how to manage this type of a crisis. So I think things are going to start picking up very soon.
All right, thank you so much, Renee. Wealth of information right there, as usual, as usual. One of the critical things that Renee spoke about, she spoke about several critical things, but one of the critical things that she spoke about is the value of being a part of a community, being a part of an association, being a part of a body. Too often our creative industry entrepreneurs don't immediately see the need for that. They think that we think that we need to do it alone. Yeah? But nothing could be further from the reality. I mean, the benefit of being a part of a community is just so enormous, and sometimes we don't even know what the value is until we become a part of the community. So I'm encouraging you to do so, which also allows us to have a nice segue into our next presenter, who is the Vice President of the Jamaica Film and Television Association, Adrian Lopez. Now, Adrian is born in Nairobi, Kenya. That's cool, that's cool. Educated at Jamaica, at Campion College in Jamaica, and he went on to finish his secondary school education. We won't hold the Campion College against Adrian and Renee. We won't hold that against you because it's not Excelsior. I just need to say it's just not Excelsior. He has double degrees in computer science and marketing. And Adrian is the co-founder of Liquid Light Digital, and that was awarded the BWIA award for most outstanding animation for his short film Roots. Adrian will share with us some of his own journey as an entrepreneur, and also will speak specifically about the value of collaborating for success and sustainability. Adrian, your time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Harold. Morning, everybody. Let me just get my screen going here. Hopefully it can work with no issue. All right, is everybody seeing that?
Yes, we are.
Right. Okay. Right. So, yeah. So I'm the vice president of JAFTA. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that, and specifically how we can look for success through collaboration. All right. So, I'm a producer, animator, visual effects artist, and director. We started Liquid Light Digital, which is Jamaica's first animation studio, back in 2002. And we expanded into live action production in 2005, primarily aimed at high-end commercial production and live in animation. We also got into animation process outsourcing, so we do animation processes for foreign companies. And we also do production support. So, you know, if a film company is coming down here, BBC, CNN, HGTV, or they're coming down here, Royal Caribbean Cruises, they come down to do some virtual reality shoots, we will provide the production support when they're here locally. We started Lone Wolf Films in 2015, primarily aimed at local IP production and development. We have a couple of TV series that we're working on for that, and a horror anthology that we're working on. Put that along with that as well. And then we also do animation through our JAMPRO animation brand. But I'm here to talk about JAFTA as well. JAFTA is a government-endorsed nonprofit organization comprised primarily of local film and TV practitioners to cultivate the local audiovisual community. We do a lot of outreaches, workshops, competitions to encourage training, skills development, and we work with a number of outside and foreign agencies in developing these programs. And there are more coming this year that we hope to announce. And in terms of collaborating for success and sustainability, it's not only what JAFTA is doing, which includes working with the British Council, JAMPRO, the International Emerging Film Talent Association, local broadcasters, and the public sector, but also looking at how you can do this as well, working with people that you know, working with and complementary skills. Remember, filmmaking by its very nature is collaborative. A lot of people try to do it by themselves, and it is possible to do something and put out something, but the process is always helped by working with other people and complementing your skills, whether it's music, you know, somebody's at music, somebody's better at writing. Don't try and do everything yourself, try and get a cluster together. Right now, making a film is easier than it's ever been. So if you do it well, there is content, as Renee mentioned. Netflix has been here looking. There are many outside agencies looking for local content, but we have to make sure that it's at a certain level to make sure it can be enjoyed by a general audience, not just Jamaicans overseas. So with that, I'm looking forward to a great little presentation. Lots of interesting questions, and onwards.
Hey, thank you very much, Adrian. You know, it's amazing how it is that we're segueing nicely through our panelists, because the last thing that Adrian spoke about is content, and the fact that we have lots of content here. Now, we know in film and animation, and in fact, in the creative industries, creative and cultural industries generally, that content is king. It's not only king, but it's king, queen, prince, you know, the princess, the whole works. Content is where it's at. And if we have content and are able to package and monetize that content, we are ahead of the game. We are ahead of the game. Several weeks ago, when we had one of our in-concert sessions, we focused on intellectual property and how it is the value of leveraging intellectual property into your business model, and so on. So content is king for sure. So segueing nicely into our next panel presenter, we have Judith Alberga, who is the head of Homegrown and Content Monetization Unit at TVJ. She's going to be sharing with us and satisfying the hunger for local content. So to tell you a little bit about Judith, she has worked in media for the last 28 years. That means she started when she was 2. She worked in the public sector, CPTC, PDCJ, private sector, Pulse Investments, JNN, TVJ, and so on. She's been involved in the startup of cable channels like CPTC, CTV, and Pulse TV, She has produced a number of programs at a variety of entities, and she has worked and been involved in national programs such as political debates, visits of heads of state, as well as worked on various outside broadcasts. Judith, it's great for you to be here to share with us this morning. Thank you so much. Let's talk about content. Judith, your turn.
Okay, thank you very much, Harold. Thank you very much, everybody else, my fellow panelists, and all who have joined. Okay, so I am in charge of the Homegrown and Content Monetization Unit at TVJ. We are a unit that has been set up that was set up in May 2017, 3 years ago, and we were charged with creating local content for the channel and abroad. We have done probably around 20 productions since we've started, and we've done co-productions as well as our own. It's a small unit. It's just a senior producer, a producer, and production assistant, and myself. And what we have been doing is trudging along, but creating. We're not short of ideas here. There are loads of ideas, and it was, you know, the thrust. I must give thanks to Mrs. Claire Grant for creating the unit, because it's something that we needed to do, because TVJ is on that journey of creating content, local content. We don't want to look at foreign imported content as much, but we can't satisfy the demand for the channel. It's a 24-hour channel, so we can't satisfy all the time the demand for local. So we have decided to do this unit, and we have created some projects that we're proud of. We collaborated with Dario last year, and we did the Ring Games project. We've done 2 seasons of a cooking show called Tailored for Taste. We've collaborated with Yannick Page, and we did Let's Make Peace. So we're working with local independent producers as well as creating our own projects. We've done a few documentaries under the banner of Homegrown, and we're just excited about the whole process of creating and making local content. COVID has come along, and things have been put on a back burner so far right now, because, you know, the money isn't out there. And even though we have the platform of TV and we have the equipment and everything like that, we still have to operate on, we're part of an organization. So Homegrown may be part of TV, but we're part of another organization, which is RJR Communications Group. So there are several threads and red tape and bureaucracy and everything that needs to go to making product, and we're a private company answering to shareholders. So that is, you know, the money isn't always there. So you have to creatively use what you have to make the programs. And so we're just excited. We have ideas, and, you know, it's been put on a hold for now, but when we open up again, or we're living with COVID now, but we're going to be working on new stuff soon. And we're collaborating with JAFTA and other producers with projects. I sound a bit nervous because I am. But it's something that I love. Production is something I love. And it's the team that I have love what they're doing. And when somebody loves what they're doing, it doesn't matter. We just move along, and we're happy to be here. That's me.
Hey Judith, let me ask you. Let me ask you before I know you're running off of the center stage. I know. Don't worry. I'll keep you here longer. Let me ask you though, how has the response been to local content? 2 angles. One, the perspective from the supply of local content for you to use, and also the response from your audience to the presentation of the local content.
Well, the response from the audience is, I mean, we always want to see ourselves. I mean, any kind of series that we have on, any show that we have on, I mean, TVJ is committed to doing local content. I mean, we've had over the years a history of doing like competitions. We've collaborated with Magnum, Kings and Queens. We collaborated Rising Stars. We collaborated on. We have our own All Together Sing with the schools. So we want to have that connection with the public, and we know that local is the way to go. We know that. Right. It's the schools challenge, which we inherited from JBC, but have moved on with the competition. We celebrated 51 years this year. Yes. We have the junior schools challenge, which was spawned from that. We have, you know, we are committed to inclusive Jamaican product on our channel. Yes. What when any content that we need to have, we are creating, we want to, the homegrown unit is creating, we want to supply for the channel, but we also want to go abroad. We want to have the visa, like what Renee had said, it needs to be quality and it needs to move. We're looking at markets like Africa. We want to look at markets like Africa. So anything that we have created here and we know that is of a quality, of a standard, we want to be shipping out to there now. So I mean, we're supplying for the channel, but we also want to go abroad and conquer the world. Okay. with Jamaican content. Brand Jamaica is strong. We know Brand Jamaica is strong. Yeah. So the culture, the music, the drama, the whole stories, we know it's there. And we're not, and I'm glad to see that we have a whole heap of writers on this thing. So the writers that can, you know, please contact us, because we're willing to engage, you know. We want to start, and anyway. There are things that are coming. There are things that are coming, and we're open. We're open.
Great. Yeah. Because I know at one stage in the game years ago, when we asked at TVJ, they were saying, "Boy, when we asked for local content, so, boy, we're not getting the sources. We're not getting it from any, you know." So I'm happy to hear that the issue now is for us to package and see how it is that we can drive it forward somewhere and monetize it somewhere. That's great. All right, great. Thank you so much, Judith. Our next panel presentation. So we have a robust panel for you this morning. I love it. It's nice. Chevonnese, Whyte. She has been a member of the creative industry for her entire life. She has expressed this creativity through dance, drawing, graphic design, website design, videography, photography, marketing, and of course, animation. You know, once a creative, you're just a creative, full stop. It don't really matter which particular genre you focus on. It wasn't until 2010 that she made a decision to assist the creative industry by starting to teach. And she has taught at the Vocational Training Development Institute, VTDI, iCreate Institute, and currently the University of the West Indies. Chevonnese has also assisted in the crafting of the Jamaica Animation Nation Network. And this morning, we're asking Chevonnese to speak to us, apart from her general comments that she's going to make about her creative journey. I hope she will. But also animating cultural stories for global appeal. Judith just said it a while ago. The whole world wants Jamaican contents. At least we feel so. Well, we know so. Everybody in the world wants to be a Jamaican or wants to know a Jamaican, right? So, but really and truly, how is it that we leverage our cultural stories for global appeal is what we're asking Chevonnese to share with us this morning. So Chevonnese, your time.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm hoping you're hearing me okay.
We are.
Okay, because my internet is giving me all manners of issue and I'm switching between Lime and Digicel. Both of them give me problems. First and foremost, I'm a proud Woolmerian, so, you know, hush you Excelsior people, Campionites, right? Well, what I want, I represent various aspects of the animation industry. Firstly, I'm an educator. I coordinate the animation program at Carimac at the University of the West Indies, Mona. And there we have a 3-year program that allows our students, whoa. Yes, I get Quadagese. Yes, I have more people. So we have a 3-year program that at the end of that program, you're exposed to all manners of animation, from 2D animation, 3D animation, motion graphics. We also have a series of drawing courses. So if you want to be a character animator or concept artist, storyboarder, you can also venture into that field from our program. I am also a co-director at Night Vision Media Limited, and one of our IPs that we're working on is A Beacon on the Maroons, and that production has done the circuit internationally and locally, and we've picked up various awards for that production. We've completed the first episode, working on the second episode, and that should be a series, an animated series, 5 minutes per episode. And then
Chevonnese, you're breaking up a little bit. Yeah. Can you just repeat what you said a while ago? Yes, I know. All the way I go put out the me know the placard them right already. Them right already is just a thing curler that we sort out now.
Speak up if.
Yeah, you want me to do that and then come back to you?
Are you hearing me better now?
No, it's still scratchy.
Are you hearing me?
We're hearing you now, Chevonnese, but just that it's scratchy, very.
All right, I would recommend switching to the next.
All right, and then come back to you. All right, we'll do that and then come back to you. All right, cool. And I don't know what's going on with the Aggie business. I mean, I don't know what that is. I mean, if it's not Get Higher or Aggie anymore, let's just not say anything. Anyhow, we're going to come back to Chevonnese, but I want to introduce to a filmmaker from Western Jamaica. And it's so good to have you on the panel, because one of the things that we wanted to make sure, the messages that we want to ensure that we send across this morning and generally in our presentations is that Kingston is not Jamaica, you know, and as a matter of fact, those who live outside of Kingston will tell you that Kingston is not even the nicer part of Jamaica. I'm just saying. I personally have a passion for Portland myself, I'm just saying, and I used to live in Mandeville, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. But I want to introduce you Dario Shields. Now everything changed for the Oscar hopeful Dario Shields after representing Jamaica at the World Championships of Performing Arts in Hollywood, USA in 2013. Since his decision to give up his office job to pursue his passion, filmmaking, Dario has written, directed, and worked on 18 films and documentaries, receiving notable awards on the national stage, his proudest being Prime Minister's Youth Award nomination and Best Directing at the Palm Bay International Film Festival on the international stage. He has worked with legendary Jamaican filmmaker Lenny Little Whyte, Miss Universe Jamaica, and a host of groups of organizations, both locally and internationally. Dario, it's really good to have you share with us this morning. Good that you could make the time. When we spoke yesterday, you were on set, which is a good thing. That means your work are going on. So this morning, we're happy to have you share with us perspectives for opportunities, certainly in the West and generally in Jamaica from your perspective, from where you see it. Thank you so much for being with us. Dario, your time. And nobody tell me about any other school apart from Excelsior.
Well, good morning. Good morning. And first of all, I don't have anything against any other school, but I'm originally from Cornwall College in Montego Bay. So let's just put that one out there. All right. Big up all schools, no hostility, no war against that. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity. I'm really thankful for it. And to just have a voice in this conversation, while you were speaking, a quote came to me, the whole world is listening. Do you have something to say or not? And I believe that us as creatives in Jamaica, we have a lot of stories to tell. Us as creatives in Montego Bay especially, have a lot to say, but the opportunities aren't as vibrant as we'd like. I was asked to speak on several things, and I want to cut it really short as much so that we can have the discussion about it. So the question, what have the creatives in Montego Bay been up to, right? I'm a part of a group right now, which has roughly over 130 something persons. And a lot of persons have always been asking why they don't hear about anything in Montego Bay. And, there's several reasons for that. So persons in Montego Bay right now, or Western Jamaica actually, there are a lot of blogs and YouTube channels. There's a lot of freelancers here. Some persons have even started their own mini production companies. Persons outside of myself have been doing different films, different documentary and web series. A lot of music videos are being done, and a lot of advertisements, small scale and even some big scale ones, right? And then there's a lot of partnerships which are being created. Now, I heard something just now that says a lot of persons are trying to do things themselves, and there is a lot of content that can be created. The thing about it is that we do have a lot of developments in Western Jamaica, and we do want to bring it to the forefront, which is why last year, myself and a few others approached JAFTA about actually joining and creating a subcommittee in Montego Bay. And we're still in that discussion. So far, we've actually decided to create an image for ourselves. Unofficially, the name of this is being finalized. So once that is finalized, we will share that out with persons. We are actually in the process of getting together a green screen studio, which actually would be able to house different productions, music videos, TV series, even, for example, let's say TVJ wants to come to Montego Bay to shoot a rising star, to shoot a, what do I call it now? The morning program. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna, yeah. So there's
Smile
several
Jamaica, Smile Jamaica.
Smile Jamaica, yes, that's the word. That's the word.
Right.
I was actually on Smile Jamaica, funny enough. So yeah.
Okay.
So there are different things that we can do with that space, and we're still in conversation with that. Another development that has been done is the UE Community Film Project, which has been a big thing, a big reinforcement to actually help out creatives in Montego Bay. And I was a part of that program. And, I gathered a lot of information from it. I actually started my own program called Filmmakers of the Future, where I actually go into high schools and teach high school students and young adults how to actually create films and how to share stories, how to do video productions. And I mean, it is going very well. I'm actually thinking about launching it off officially through a certified program that I'm working on with the Ministry of Education right now. There's also one of the big things that we are working on as well is to have a program similar to JAFTA's Propeller, which I'm one of the finalists for this year. And, I've learned so much from it. I decided that why not let us share all this information that I'm learning and give back to persons to where we collaborate and we do one film where we have different writers coming, they submit, different directors coming, pitching the idea to shoot that film. And, us pulling together our equipment or time or energies to actually create some things. But, to cut this part short, we do have challenges, and there are a lot of opportunities in Montego Bay and in Western Jamaica. One of them is locations. And I know that us as the, you guys as the leaders per se, in terms of this space, the film space, can actually assist us with that, because we do need a house, somewhere that persons can go. And I do believe that if it is that we have that physical space where people can come together and meet up, and, you know, we'd be able to create more, we'd be able to do so much more. We do need funding. Funding is a big deal in terms of getting projects done, because, you know, I think someone said, we do need our visa-worthy films, right? And I mean, I can see with how intense Propeller is. I mean, I used to see it sit on the outside and say, yo, the movie a body, man. But then being a part of Propeller, now I'm saying like, yo, it's so deep. And there is a lot of money that's actually in it, a lot of time that's in it. And we do need that type of assistance in Montego Bay, in Western Jamaica. Persons do need exposure, because there's a lot of persons doing really amazing work, which is just not being recognized, just not being seen. And I believe that if it is that there's a space where people can get some amount of exposure, then it will actually motivate and encourage other persons to actually want to do more things. Because, you know, the film thing is, a lot of persons aren't getting paid from that. For some people, as you said, there's a lot of writers in the group. For most persons, it's really a passion, and they want to turn that passion into something that pays them, that helps to pay their bills. But if it is that you have an amazing writers, like for example in Montego Bay right now, there's amazing writers like Kenny Reed, there's Kaisha Randall who's here, there's Gafar Ellis who's an amazing singer, and he writes songs like amazing. There's so many people who are just really talented, but they don't have the exposure. There isn't that ground for them to put themselves out there, and because of that, they stay in their shells and they don't really push out as much. Persons do need training. Training is essential for us to all grow. Then there's also the opportunity with jobs. And I mean, this is where JAFTA and JAMPRO comes in, and I really love that about them, because most of the projects, most of the jobs that I've been given were actually through being a part of JAFTA, through being a part of JAMPRO. And we do need to have more of these discussions so persons can actually see what is available to them, because not a lot of persons know. You hear about it, but you don't really know in detail. And then there's a lot of persons who have a lot of questions about it. One of the things that I think we do need is, you know, I've traveled to Kingston a lot, which is why a lot of persons know me and know that, oh, Dario is the filmmaker in Montego Bay. But truth is, I may not be the best filmmaker in Montego Bay. I'm definitely not the only filmmaker in Montego Bay. There's a lot of us here, and there's a lot of things that people want to say, a lot of things that people want to show, you know. So I would love to see, and this is not from me, but mostly from the group, because I'm speaking on behalf of them, more film festivals, at least a film festival in Montego Bay. I mean, the GatFest does it here, but I do believe that there needs to be more, something from Montego Bay, something that says Montego Bay, something that says Western Jamaica. I think that Jamaicans are very prideful persons. And if it is that they are a part of something, they will support it times a million. You know, when there's the Olympics, everybody jumps, everybody stops every single thing they're doing to support that. So I think that if it is that we have something that's, you know, just like, you know, you said homegrown films in a TVJ, that we have something homegrown from Western Jamaica, supported by you guys, then definitely, we will definitely start seeing more persons stepping up and stepping out to doing all these things. And definitely another thing is to have some sort of financial incentive set up, you know, because really and truly, you can write 1 million films, but if it is that it's not going to pay you, if it's not going to feed your 2-month-old baby, then, you know, persons are mostly going to shy and go back into their shells, they're not going to really want to do anything, because it's not fostering growth for them in their creative lives, yes, but financially, economically, it's not going to do much when the wife starts calling and say, yo, the Pampers need to buy and those type of stuff. You know what I mean? The car break down on the road. You can't have an amazing camera, but I mean, you probably have to sell the camera to fix the car. You get me? I say? So I believe that this is an amazing discussion for us to have, and I'm truly thankful to be here, to be one of the voices from Montego Bay, and I'm just happy to be a part of the discussion. So that's me for now. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Dario. Really appreciate it. And very, very, very powerful points, and I've made note, and we can have the discussion in the discussion section. Chevonnese, are you back with us?
Yes, I am.
Hey, great. There you go. There you go.
I'm gonna take the chance and not turn on my
all right, cool.
my video.
Cool.
Okay.
The picture
so sorry
nice.
about that.
Yes. The picture is nice. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. It is actually me, you know. All right. So I wanted to talk about the Jamaica Animation Nation Network as well. I'm the brand manager there. And that is the association for anyone who is an animator or interested in the animation industry. They should be at least attending the meeting, so Jan. And it's not just for animators. We are open to everyone once you are interested. So if you're a writer, if you are in web development and marketing, if you are acting, if you are anything that can assist with the development of an animation, we welcome you to our meetings, because our meetings are geared towards networking. Earlier, Adrian Lopez had spoken about not working on your own. And yes, it is possible to create an animation on your own, but it is strongly recommended not to do that. It usually takes a team. Most persons are good at different aspects of the industry. So for instance, I lended my voice to the production of Abiku and the Maroons. I'm actually the voice of Abiku. Yes, I'm a girl and I voiced a boy character. But it is possible to contribute in different ways. Again, with Abiku and the Maroons, I assisted with the writing and the development of the story, the marketing of the story, but it's not my production alone. It is a team of us that comes together and put that production together. And so we strongly recommend at a minimum of 3 persons when working on something, but when we're going towards larger productions, more persons. All right, so our topic, of course, is about creating content that is globally appealing. And we've been using that phrase, what globally appealing? It needs to have your visa for your production, right? But honestly, what we're finding from these international productions and from these international communities, and Renee can endorse this, they are very interested to hear about what is happening in Jamaica and the Jamaican stories that we have. However, we need to package it in a way where it can be understood and it can be appreciated by persons who have never been to Jamaica or have never interacted with a Jamaican. So for instance, the one that I like to use, the example I like to use with my students is Jap anime. I've never been to Japan. I don't think I know any Japanese people, but I have an appreciation for their culture based on the animations that they have produced. And that's what we're talking about. We cannot use jokes that are local, because if it's too local, then they won't understand the joke and then they will miss the point. We can't use too many things that are, we can't use too many phrases that are specific to Jamaica. We have to find a way to keep it Jamaican, yes, but at the same time, use phrases that can work. So right now on Netflix, and I'm sorry, Adrian and Renee, for stepping into film a little bit, but if you look on Netflix right now, we're seeing a wide range of African films and African series that are doing very well in Jamaica. So when you go on Netflix, you see it says #1 in Jamaica. You see it says #5 in Jamaica. And in actuality, these things are from another country. Why is it that we are gravitating? What is it, when you're creating your content, what is it that is causing us to want to know more and want to interact with these productions? It is the stories. It's the stories that we're telling. And so the writers, and I'm so happy there are so many writers in this session, it's the writers that are going to make or break your production. How it is that they have allowed us to have that emotional connection. And honestly, that's what we need. You need emotions that are universal, that can be understood by anyone. Music can be understood by anyone, and emotions can be understood by anyone. And that's what you need in your productions to make it more internationally appealing. All right, so I hope I assisted. My apologies on the video. Oh, it's the internet providers. My apologies.
No one. Thank you so much, Chevonnese.
You're welcome.
Very, very, very strong content in your delivery just now. Thank you.
Thank you.
You see what I did there with the word content? I love it. So very, very, very good. And one of the critical points, apart from the collaboration, which we have spoken about, and you know, film and animation is one of the industries within the creative industries that require, as part of the supply chain, a depth of collaboration with other creative industries for it to be appealing, for it to be successful. You need music, you need writers, you need costume, you need designers, you need it to make the product itself. Later on in our discussions, I'm going to challenge our panelists for a response where that is concerned, whether or not we think that that fact is appreciated in the ecosystem and sufficiently known by the various players within the ecosystem, whether they're training institutions or, you know, the EDNAs of this world, or the other associations or music communities of this world. How many script writers, how many persons are building a career for script writing, for instance, you know? Later on, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But thank you so much, panelists, so far. Before we jump into the question and answers, I want to get a word from our JAMPRO representative in the West. I know Dario said it, you alluded to it, say Kingston is not Jamaica. And in fact, the West, enough things are going on in the West, and we need to support it. Agreed 100%. And here it is to continue that conversation about that kind of support, particularly for the entrepreneurs in the West, and what JAMPRO has been doing and continues to do, is my good friend Conrad Robinson, who is the manager down that side of Jamaica, the better part of Jamaica. So Conrad, can you bring your comments before we jump into the question and answers?
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody, the panelists and all. I trust that you're hearing me and seeing me as well. Okay, great. Yeah, so I think Renee had done a very good job in terms of, you know, giving an overview of JAMPRO's role and so on. But I really want to shed some light on Western Jamaica, and I really want to thank Dario for making the presentation that he did, because the truth is that we do have a lot of creatives on this side of the island that they're not really getting the exposure that they deserve. And I think one of the opportunities that the Western Jamaica has provided is the nexus between the tourism industry and the creative industry. A lot of what takes place as for entertainment within the tourism space is actually coming out of the creative industries. And I feel like there is an opportunity for film and that kind of creative outlet expression within the tourism space. I think our culture is strong enough for films to become a part of the daily offerings within the tourism sector. A lot of the tourists that come to Jamaica because of what they have seen in film. And I'm saying that I think we need to use that to our advantage and begin to produce content that will become a part of the daily entertainment within that space. So that is something that we're looking to see how we can get that done on this side, especially for the creatives on this side, how we can get them within the tourism sector to to highlight and to showcase their talent and their gifting. So we really are very happy to be partnering with JBDC on this. And we're happy also from Western Jamaica that we have a seat at the table, that our voices can be heard. And yes, Harold, Kingston is not Jamaica. And I really want to say to us here in Western Jamaica is that we need to get out of our shells, and we really need to begin to forge those partnerships that is going to allow us to showcase the gifts and the talents that we have on this side. So thanks again, and I'm looking forward to the discussion as the questions come to the panel.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, Conrad. And I must tell the audience this one that I appreciate Conrad for his generous hospitality the days when we used to go down to Mobay for business. Just to be clear, right?
Yes,
so
man.
Thank you, Conrad. So here's where we're opening up the floor for questions and comments. I see that the chat room has been busy, which is a great thing, and most of the comments have been very positive, and I appreciate that as well. But just to let you know that there are two ways for you to participate in the question and comments, and that one way is to share the question in the chat room itself, and then the team will pick it up and ask it to the panelists. And the other way is for you to raise your hand. There is a function at the bottom of your, or wherever it is on your screen that allows you to raise your hand. And when you do, we'll acknowledge you, open your mic, and invite you to ask your question to the panelists. But let me thank the panelists up front for brilliant presentations and fulsome presentations that have really depth at the forefront. But I want to start the conversation by something I alluded to earlier. The fact that the supply chain, the ecosystem that supports film is so deep and wide in its scope. Do you think, for instance, that the panelists I'm asking now, what are your thoughts in terms of whether or not, first of all, there's an appreciation of that? Generally speaking, is there appreciation, do you think, of the value of that film can bring to the other areas of the economy? And certainly, do we have structures in place to support, sufficient to support the film and animation industries? I mean, like I mentioned it before, do we have specific programs at various institutions, for instance, that prepare persons specifically for film and animation? I know it's better than it was in the past, but are we where we ought to be? What are your thoughts on that? Because without the ecosystem to drive the support, the industry won't grow as fast as we would like it to. So let me throw this out to the panelists, starting with anybody. Renee, let's start with you. Let's speak on you.
Sure, no problem. And in fact, I figured that question was probably going to be mine to begin with anyway. So yeah, I think we're in an interesting time, Harold, because you are starting to see some of the structural changes that need to happen in order for our sectors to be better quantified. So, from an institutional perspective, yeah, there are training programs in our tertiary institutions, and there are components in our secondary institutions as well. But for example, some of those programs are undergoing the necessary curriculum review, because one of the things that is coming out is that as graduates are leaving these programs, are they in fact ready for the labor market based on what the industry needs? So some of those changes are happening from a training and development side. Obviously, the work of the industry associations is helping to elevate the professional skills for people who are no longer in the training stages, but who are developing themselves as professionals, developing their business skills, developing their marketability, developing their visa readiness, as we've been calling it all morning. So, you know, so the industry associations are playing that role as well. From the public sector, there are certain things that are in place. So for example, somebody had mentioned earlier incentives. There are, in fact, the film and animation, the creative economy as a whole falls within the productive inputs relief regime. So there are, in fact, fiscal incentives that exist. But what I'm finding is that it's not as widely known or not as widely acknowledged. So, you know, and so it's always the same participants who are the ones who know and who understand how to navigate these structures. Those are the ones who are receiving the benefits, and those are the ones who are advancing in their career, because it's not because of any kind of, you know, favoritism. It's just that they know what systems are in place and they understand how to navigate them. So some of those things are happening, but it's not, we're not there yet. We're definitely not there yet. I mean, even something as basic like economic impact. I know, Harold, you guys are working on the baseline studies right now as well with the British Council. From a JAMPRO perspective, we are doing an economic impact assessment right now. And just the absence of data is such a challenge. And if we're not capturing the data from our statistical institutions, one of the things I'm sure you would have been finding as well is that the impact of the creative economy is registered under the other services satellite.
Whatever that is.
What does that mean? All of the work that is being done is now falling into this statistical category called other services.
Yeah, like a dark hole.
Yeah, when that happens, how can we then say, you know what, the true economic value and the economic impact of the creative economy is contributing, you know, 7% to GDP? We're not really able to say that because some of our structures are still managing and monitoring what we're doing in a very broad level. So a lot of those things are things that are changing right now. And I know it's it's not as granular as, okay, well, how do we actually change things in terms of production? How do we, you know, access financing for production? How do we access, you know, even something like our entertainment lawyers and our accountants who understand the tax model for a co-production? You know, even something as basic as that, those types of structures are slowly starting to shift. But we also have these larger overarching structures that that do need to shift as well. And so a lot of that work is happening right now. But I think the thing that we really need to drill down on is consistency. So and I think that's probably why we've been able to have over the past couple of years such an exponential increase in the way that these sectors are being viewed, is that there has been a consistent push from both public and private to get these things at the forefront of, you know, people talking. We've been advancing things in the news. We've been advancing things with the industry associations. We've been advancing our presence internationally. So there's a consistency that we've been able to benefit from now as to why we're seeing some of the changes. So it's not that, you know, we weren't trying to do this before. We were always trying to do this. You know, everybody who's working in this industry has been putting, you know, a lot, like the past 20 years have really been a time for people to try to push for these sectors, but we're starting to see that consistency and that traction is happening now.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Renee. I'll come in, Dario. I want to hear Chevonnese perspective on it before you jump in, Dario.
Well, I'm heavy in animation education. And so what I can say is, in regards to film, digital media production is available at the CAPE level. So once you're in high school, you can access digital media production. And there's also animation and game design at the CAPE level. should you like to do an associate degree in animation, you can go to XSED or the VTDI, which is the Vocational Training Development Institute. And of course, if you would like a bachelor's degree, you can go to Edna Manley, UTech, or of course, the best program. Don't listen to me, I'm just being very bad. You can go to the best program, Carimac, at the University of the West Indies, right? So we do have programs in place to assist with the education with, oh, and also for film production at Carimac as well. We have a film production BFA as well. So there are avenues to study animation and film. This has been a debate because I am on both ends. I'm an educator and I'm also an owner of a company that produces animations. And so the complaint is usually when these students graduate, oh, I also forgot, my apologies. There are also levels 1 to 3 that you can pursue as well, digital animation with the Heart institutions. And so the debate usually is when these students graduate these programs, are they industry ready? And I would say these are dependent on what the student has pursued. In everything that you do, every profession, you know, how much time are you putting into learning your craft? So some persons do a certificate program, and I'm not knocking certificate, don't get me wrong. There's also a program at iCreate as well. And so the thought process is, I've done a 3-month certificate program, I'm ready to produce. And that's not necessarily the case. So some persons, that works for them, they can just get that 3-month exposure and they can come out of the blocks running and they're good, right? Some persons need a little bit more time. And so I would strongly encourage, oh my goodness, I believe the garbage truck is passing my house right now and blowing the horn. My apologies again. But some programs, you need a little bit more time. So I encourage persons, go and do an associate degree, go and do the bachelor's degree. And even when you're finished with even my program, that's not saying that you are going to be the most awesome animator ever. Really and truly, it's dependent on the person who is studying. The amount of work that you put into your craft, and it doesn't matter what it is, film, animation, painting, photography, whatever it is, the more you put into your craft, the better you'll get at that craft, and the better you'll be able to work within your industry, right? So I know a lot
Absolutely.
of it, the blame is on these educational institutions. And I'm not trying to assign blame. I'm just saying, if you plan to be in any industry, especially film and animation that is very hands-on, you must be willing to do, you must be living and breathing that, that discipline.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks. Dario, your thoughts?
Yes, thank you so much. So firstly, Renee, what you're saying, I do agree with you fully, because one of the things that a lot of persons don't really see is the work that's being put in, because JAMPRO sends me a lot of emails about a lot of different opportunities that's there. JAFTA does the same, right? Those are the two organizations I'm really a part of. Recently, I joined the Entertainment Registry, and I'm getting updates, emails, all kind of stuff like that. I'm getting information, I'm getting the regular meeting requests and all kind of stuff like that. So one of the things that I see is not that the opportunities aren't really there, but it's just that persons aren't really aware of some of these opportunities that are there, right? So there is that. When it comes to the education point now, that is like one of my touchy-feely points, because when I started off film in 2013 officially, right? For me, it was like, I'm an accountant and I'm jumping into film. Like, I want to do film. I want to do writing and directing. That's me, and acting. What programs are there? I mean, I sat down and I studied, I checked out the curriculum for all of them, right? Carimac. I worked at UWI for a short time. And I can tell you the Carimac program is really good. DMP and the IMC program, very, very good. If it is that you do wanna baseline into it. When I was starting off, they didn't start the film program as yet. But I hear that it is really good. UTech has a really good program as well for it. One of my friends does it and she's doing big things right now in Jamaica. She travels a lot. Like she travels a lot to Europe to do all kind of different big productions, right? So the educational point is there. Now, Chevonnese said something just now, which I wanna speak on, because what happened is that doing a 3-month program, because I have a 3-month program called Filmmakers of the Future, where I go into high schools, secondary schools, because I think that when you're in grade 9 and you're about to choose your subject for CXC, for K, and your mother says, I want you to be a doctor. Your father says, I want you to be a lawyer. And when you go through all of that long years, you do CXC, you do CAPE, you do the pre-med course, and then you do, then you're going through 5 years of being a doctor. And then in the final year before your final exam, you see a dog passing by and you have your phone and you stoop down, you take a nice little video of it and you say, wait, hold on. I wrong thing me now. Oh, shoot. Like a whole of your years just waste right there. You get me, I say? But if it is that there's a program there, and this is the passion that actually helped me to really want to do this program into high schools, is that I want to break the tree from young. So I introduced this course to the students. I started off at Cornwall College and then at St. James High, and I saw how this changed youth. Like it literally transformed them. There was a guy who was getting in trouble every single day. And I said, bro, here's an idea, right? Take your phone and every time you feel like you're in trouble, record it. Record everything what you do and just carry on show me, right? I spoke to the teachers and I said, I'm just having an experiment being done. So please don't trouble him. And he actually did. He was actually about to be expelled from school before this, right? And when he did it, right, he kept showing me all these things. I said, oh, bro, start a YouTube channel. Make these pranks, right? And he started it and his whole behavior changed. He actually started to find purpose in what he wanted to do. And I mean, it's fine to do a deep dive course and study in film and do your master's, your MFA, you go to New York Film Academy, you go to New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts, all of those stuff. You go Edna Manley, you study. But the thing about film is just like everybody said, it's not something that you automatically study for 3 months and you get a certificate and you're automatically a filmmaker. It's a consistent thing, because I've been doing film since 2013. I've been acting since 2004. And doing Propeller just the other day, let me big up Jafta right now. Let me big up JAMPRO. Let me big up everybody a part of Propeller. I just realized that I'm completely a beginner. And to many people right now on this and in Mobe who have big respects for me and stuff like that, just going through that program, I realized just how much of a beginner I am. So at every level, at every stage that you go, you are going to be a beginner in it. But one of the things that we as creatives, as practitioners, as legislators, as law creators, or any term we want to use, right? One of the things that we must do is to help to foster that growth and to start those new conversations. There's a lot of groups that's there to actually help out persons. JAFTA, JAMPRO, two of the big groups. And Jan, really great things you guys are doing. One of the things that I can say is that Mobe's Challenge and Kingston Challenge are two different things. You know, opportunities are available in Kingston for people who want a bus. You get me, I say? When I did Miss Universe, there was a lot of opportunities for me to get a job, a good job with CVM, a good job with TVJ, you know, because I did really good stuff. But the thing about it is, in Mobe, it's a different kettle of fish. You know what I mean? So one of the things that, you know, get in line with people that are there, and this is for everybody that's here right now and who will watch it, get in line with the organizations that are there that have the credibility. And then if it is that you don't see something, start something. If you don't see the thing that you want, then go ahead and start it. You know, we're in Mobe trying to create something, right? And it does have its challenges. You know, it does have its little issues and stuff. Last night we had a big issue, but I mean, that's how things are when you start off. And then as you start off, as you keep moving, as you're running, right? Then you'll find that, you know, you'll run into a Renee Robinson, you'll run into a Conrad, you'll run into Annalisa, you'll run into Kevin Jackson. And then guess what? When you run and you're tired and you're stressed out and you don't know which direction to go, JAMPRO will say, or Renee will say, hey, do you know that right now you can actually sign up to this program and you can get that training? You know what I mean? Stuff like that is necessary. So, I mean, this is just to say that it is a growing process. We're not reach there. We're not reach Hollywood level yet. But I can tell you, based on the stories that I'm seeing, based on the, and I'm not bigging up my film, right? But I'm telling you, based on the stories that I see in Propeller right now, right? I tell you that Jamaica is growing big level. And I mean, big thumbs up to Flight, because Flight is on HBO now. I mean, come on, that's growth, and we have to celebrate growth, you know? So, yeah.
Respect, Dario, respect.
Yeah.
Judith, I saw you.
Yeah, I was just saying that we'd like to do, like, with the training, we'd love to have some sort of linkage with Edna. Edna has the 4 schools there. I mean, there's opportunities there for actors. There's opportunities there for School of Music to score productions. I mean, there's that sort of linkages that's there. The set design for the School of Art. There's always the computer graphics. There's things that we can have that alliance with, and I'm going to see if we can pursue that, so that, you know, there's at least an opportunity for some of those students to come in to a working environment where you would have something like television.
Absolutely.
You would have television, and you could perhaps work on a production, and you know that's what it's going to be. That's where it is. A module, perhaps, you know, it's a part of their certification. A module that they can do scoring for a TV program, or they acted in this particular production. So things are there, and linkages are there that we can perhaps, you know, we can forge. You know,
Absolutely.
a lot of our producers are from NCU and Carimac and UTech as well. So it's, you know.
Right. Great. I want, before I ask Adrian if he has a perspective on this, I want to also say that is a critical, as you know, JBDC is about entrepreneurial development, and you know, so the focus for us, whether you are creative or not, although we like creatives, we love creatives, is to make sure that you have the best business model that you have as a business, and you yourself as an entrepreneur. So it's one thing to have the necessary skills, which is very, very important, because us as creatives sometimes believe that there's a sense of almost a sense of entitlement if we have a talent, that we are not obliged to be the best talent that we can possibly be, first of all. And that, as Dario says, and everybody has says also, but Dario said it just now, that requires continuous learning, continuous pursuit of excellence. Sometimes our Jamaican creatives, and I speak as a creative myself, sometimes our Jamaican creatives tend to settle for mediocrity. And that's the reason why, one of the reasons, Judith, why I was asking you about the quality of content, and I'm happy to hear that it is where you would like to see it. But it's very important for us to pursue that pursuit of quality constantly, and continuous learning is the only way to do that. And networking, as Dario said strategic networking as well. But it's also very important alongside that to pursue your entrepreneurial prowess as well, and make sure that your business is such and so solid as an entrepreneur, as an individual writer or a company, that your business model is such that you can continue to monetize and grow as well, and don't have to sell the camera to fix the car. Right, Dario? So let me hear Adrian's perspective on the matter.
Yeah, I'm just hearing a lot of talk about training and institutions, and we need to remember that it has to begin with a passion. You have to have a passion for animation. You have to have a passion for filmmaking. I get approached all the time in supermarkets, on the street, you know, oh, you're in animation, you're in production. How does my son get into animation? I said, well, what has your son done? I said, well, he hasn't done anything. He's waiting for training. I said, but if you're we live in a world now where you don't need to wait for training to do animation. You don't need to wait for training to do filmmaking. The best filmmakers in Hollywood didn't go to film school. The best animators at Disney were self-trained. You have to have a passion for it. Sure, the training comes in later on when you need to structure all that knowledge and that passion. But initially, you should have a portfolio of stuff to show people anytime if you're really that interested in getting into animation or filmmaking. The stuff that you've done on the side, that the software out that is available for free is everywhere now, for both animation and filmmaking. Video editing, cameras, you can use your cell phone. You should have a portfolio of work that you can show before you even get into training, because training costs money, and people tend to stop at that. You know, they see the fees for UTech, they see the fees for CPTC, and they're like, you know, well, I can't bother with that. But the fact is, as a business owner, I would rather collaborate with a passionate animator than a certified animator. Because the passionate animator he's gonna work night and day to make sure it's as perfect as he can make it. The certified animator is gonna expect, oh, because he has a certification, I should be doing this, I should be doing this and this and that for him. So I wanna see somebody who is passionate. If he's certified as well, great. But I'd rather take passion over certification any day.
Well said, Bridget. All right, Dario, I see you, Dario. But I want to go to the room now. If Sansia, is there anyone in the room who I see Ravi has his hand up. I'm not sure if there are any other questions that you want to share in the room. Sansia?
The room is blowing up, so you have to give me a minute to go through all of what's happening here. It's a lot.
so do we ask Ravi to go ahead and ask his question?
Let Ravi go ahead with his question. If his hand is up, yes, I'm gonna lower your hand. I'm gonna unmute you, Ravi. All right, go ahead with your question.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's nice meeting you all in one place, sharing all the views and ideas. Coming up to the passion part, actually I'm a doctor by profession, actually a surgeon by profession, but I've been into filmmaking from earlier days, right from my school days and college days, through which I actually left my practice and went to New York, pursued 2 years of filmmaking course. Not knowing to go into the field just by itself. I know I can handle camera, I can handle this, but getting into a professional way is totally different from what you can do just by holding a camera, taking a phone and doing. So I thought the level has to be updated. So I went ahead and did all my things for myself. But at the end of the day, again, as I think the gentleman who spoke earlier, I don't remember his name, but he put up nice words saying that getting the skills is not enough. Just that to excel in this field, and the economic support, or all of those has to be. I know he mentioned about the car and the diapers, but coming to those issues as a filmmaker, upcoming filmmakers or the budding artists, it is really difficult for us to show our talent or the passion where if it's concerned about to excel in this field. When you're coming to economic support, what I'm talking. So this Zoom meeting now actually enlightened me a little in terms of approach to anybody who is in this field now to make up a team, or to, if they like my profile, as a portfolio is a key in putting up a way of what I can do or what I am up to show somebody, to make them believe in my skills or my passion. So sorry if I'm taking long. My question was actually, even though we have all these skills and passion with us, to move forward with them, I didn't find a platform in Jamaica that I could just portray myself to say, I have this I wanting to do this, you know, there's no clear-cut pathway like how I can go about going to do a medicine. I just need to pass, you know, the schooling and then go into med school and just become a doctor. But doing the filmmaking, using my skills and whatever, I didn't find a way to put myself in a spot to show anything or to start anything by myself. I mean, I'm just putting my view. I don't know how far I am correct. I just wanted you guys to enlighten me if I'm having any thing that I need to put up more, you know.
Thank you, Ravi. Yeah, what you're asking
what
is,
kind of films do you make?
Chevonnese,
Sorry.
Chevonnese would like to respond to the question, Mr. Davis.
Okay, I was wanting to clarify whether or not Ravi was asking specifically if,
Right, Chevonnese.
about route to market.
Yeah.
Route to market. Okay, okay. Go ahead, Chevonnese.
Okay, so in response to both questions, because Harold, you had said, you know, what infrastructures we have in place, and Ravi, you had spoken, you know, where can you go to let yourself be known for what you do, right? And both questions tie into one another, so I'm just gonna speak, and then I'm hoping I answer both of you at the same time, right? But Jan, previously, we had set up our website where you could, once you're a member, we would set up a database and your information would be on display. So persons could then now come to our website and find who they're looking for. So if they're looking for concept artists, they simply use a filter to find concept artists, animators, storyboard artists, so on and so forth, the different positions within the animation pipeline. But unfortunately, Jan it's a volunteer. It's supported only by volunteers, right? So in regards to infrastructure, that site ended up having to be taken down because we just didn't have enough resources to keep the website going. And we're actually on a mission to put it back in place. Now, I know, Ravi, what you're saying is your film, and so you would have to contact JAFTA to assist you with that. But what we are aiming for, and actually JAMPRO has been strongly encouraging us to do this, and I'm pretty sure if Renee has been telling us to do this for Jan, I'm pretty sure she's saying the same thing for JAFTA, is that we need to set up a database. And again, so anyone can come in. So if you are like an Adrian Lopez and you have a production and you need to find persons for your production, you can simply go to this website and say, I need to find these persons, see their portfolios if necessary, and contact them once you're a member of that association. And I would assume the same thing would happen for film. So you're looking for persons, boom operators, you're looking for writers, you're looking for cameramen and all of that stuff. Again, that site should be available that we can do that. So that speaks to the infrastructure and the mechanisms that we need to have in place. Now, I know for us at JAN, that is our #1 priority. We are trying to ensure that before 2020 has ended, as dramatic as it is, that we're trying to ensure that our website is back to the glory that it once was and can be sustained for an extended period of time. So to my knowledge, Ravi, we don't have a standard space just yet where you can put up your information. But what you can do in the meantime is to join your associations, because those associations, even though that information isn't up, Adrian can say this, once these persons approach us as the association, we send out the call to our members, and then our members can respond to anyone who is looking for whatever it is. And I know you're speaking specifically to get into Netflix as well, or any other large distributor like that. And again, our associations will be the mechanisms for you to do that. So my suggestion is to join JAFTA, since film is where you want to go, and that mechanism will work for you. You just need to ensure that you're a member. I hope I answered both questions.
All right, thanks, Chevonnese.
You're welcome.
I know Renee has to leave, correct, Renee?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
double booked, so I'm gonna have to run to another meeting, but I do want to just say as well that just to bolster what Chevonnese was just saying, and Adrian as well, like literally these opportunities will come through an institutional structure, and our role is to get those opportunities out to the people who are working, to the practitioners, and we can only do that if you are a part of the association. So even some of these, I mean, the mention of Netflix is always there. People are always trying to get their information to Netflix. These opportunities do come to us, and we do circulate it to the membership of the industry associations. So it is the duty and the responsibility of the practitioner to join your association so that you can have access to these opportunities. Which is also a little bit different, because if you think about it, look, we're a small country, right? We go into market, we travel to the various film festivals, and we're representing the country there. But when we're out in market, there are lots of individual people who are also out there just representing themselves. So, you know, it's not that they're looking for the structure and the umbrella hierarchy, but they're literally investing in their own businesses and going to markets and attending these things and signing up for the different variety and screen and, you know, all of these different things that are there. So there are, and Dario had said it a little bit earlier, that these opportunities do exist. The doors are there. You have to walk through them. And before I leave, I just want to say, so if anyone is trying to reach the Film Commission, you can definitely do so by sending an email to film@jamprocorp.com. So that's film, FILM, @jamprocorp, JAMPROCORP.com. And I'm just going to ask if there's any member of my team that can just put that in the chat box, because I do have to go. But, you know, we are definitely here. The industry associations are here. The Film Commission is here. JAMPRO is here. So we want to help your business grow. But as I said, the doors are there. You have to walk through them. So I'm going to jump off with that. But thank you, Harold. Thank you, JBDC. Thank you to my panelists. It was really a pleasure to be here. And I know this conversation is going to continue. It's great. But yeah. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Renee. Sancio?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead with Richard Della Pena now. So, Richard, I'm going to unmute your mic and you go ahead with your question. Go ahead, Richard.
Hi, morning, everyone. Thanks for this wonderful forum. I think it's a learning experience for a number of the industry members and also persons who are no longer or who have never been a part of the industry. From my experience, having worked in the industry for a number of years and sitting at or in a position where I had to see or choose programming for a local media entity, I found that we had a number of local producers with the ideas, they had the concept, but they didn't know how to execute it, right? So they would come to the meetings, you know, they're proposing this idea, but they just don't know how to get it off the ground. And I'm sorry that Renee had to leave, because a number of my questions now are going to be channeled towards the JAMPRO entity. So I had to spend a number of my time and days sitting with a number of these young producers, working out just a simple proposal, a simple treatment, a simple budget. They didn't know what it entailed to do a budget, you know. And then when we were completed in terms of doing the budget, and when you look at the budget and what it would take to do a local production, right, versus what it would take to buy a series, an Indian drama series coming out of India, it was easier to buy the Indian drama series and put that on air, right? Because when you look at the local budget versus an international budget, it was always easier to buy the international content. So you'll find that there are even challenges for the broadcasters locally, TVJ and CVM, right? They would tend to want to go towards the international market, not because they favor it, but it's just a business venture. It's easier to buy a bulk of programs at $200 US dollars per episode, right? Than to buy a local content that's probably 10 times the amount of that, right? So the real issue that I want to drill down to is the funding challenges of the industry locally. Who is putting forward or channeling or challenging rather the policymakers to put funding in place for the local industry? For example, in Britain, they have a BFI, it's a British Film Institute, and filmmakers can get funding from this institute, right? Why not have a Jamaica Film Institute where funding can be coming from the lottery, for example. Funding can be coming from the financial services or for the financial sector driving this fund. And I just want to know what are some of the ideas for the funding of the industry, because we've been having this challenge over a number of years. And that is why it has been holding back the industry. We're not getting that push, right? And representation from a number of the members and bodies for funding.
Can I just speak to that just a quick second?
Go ahead, Adrian.
All right. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into the weeds here because that really is JAMPRO's area, but there are some things that are going to be announced towards the end of this year that may change your perception of that, Richard. So I would just hold on just a little bit longer.
Watch this space, in other words. I was gonna respond similarly, Richard, because I know that there are some initiatives that are presently being worked on. It is a fact. So watch this space. And just to let you know as well that, go ahead, Adrian.
No, I just wanted to clarify something else. I think Richard's example was kind of mixing apples and oranges when he was comparing buying an Indian series for $200 an episode, and that's why the broadcasters. Remember, if we're doing a production, for example, we went to TVJ with a production a few years ago. And it had a multi-million-dollar budget, but we don't expect that money to come from the broadcaster. You go and get that funding elsewhere from your sponsors, from your producers, and you produce a series, and then you sell it. You sell it to TVJ at a competitive rate. You also send it to Trinidad. You send it to Georgia. You send it anywhere, Russia, anywhere that you can sell that episode. Just like they're selling those Indian episodes. That's how you recoup your money. You don't get it back from the one broadcaster in your country. They don't finance the entire production of your thing unless it's their production. Judith, you can speak to that if I have that correct. I think that's correct, yes?
Yeah, you do. You have it correct. Yeah, you can't. I mean, we would buy a series, as Richard said, from abroad for like a drama for perhaps $500 US or $600 US, but it's a syndicated series. I mean, it's sold all over the world, and different markets have different price points. So it's that you're correct, Adrian. Here, the model is that you have to have really a sponsor to come along with it. If you're producing your production, it does cost a lot of money, but you cannot recoup it in Jamaica alone. It has to be outside of the market.
Yeah.
And
thanks for that.
That's it. Yeah.
Thanks for that. I hope your question was answered, Richard. And so, Sansia, back to you.
All right, so there is a comment from Garfield Goldburn. He says, I'm a banker and listening to Richard. Business acumen is sometimes lacking with many of those in the industry. Many persons are unable to produce a business plan. So that might be a challenge as well. And then Shemar Grant indicated that he was from the Young Filmmakers Association, yes, of Jamaica, and he had a question, but I asked him to raise his hand or type it in the chat. Haven't seen it as yet, so we can move on to Bruce Hart.
Before Bruce, I want to comment on Garfield's comment, because that's kind of what I was saying earlier in terms of the business acumen of the entrepreneurs who are in the creative industries generally, but this morning we're talking about film and animation, yeah? And that side of the ecosystem is where JBDC fits in to assist the entrepreneurs themselves to develop their business. Because you can't approach any financier not only with a good idea, it has to be with a good business proposition. Yeah. So we partner with JAMPRO and other players within the ecosystem. But certainly, what I'm proposing here is that we work closer with JAFTA and JANS and the membership, so we can perhaps design specific programs that will meet the business development needs of the entrepreneurs in this space. So I'm going to propose that as an immediate action going forward. Go ahead, Santia.
All right, Bruce, I'm going to unmute your mic. All right, go ahead with your question, Bruce.
Good morning. It's nice to see everybody getting together in a community. So it really, it's good for everyone. So it's really nice to see. I'm a producer. I've been on the periphery of the film business for quite a while. As I had mentioned, I wanted to speak to Adrian Lopez. The names that I know have changed over the years, but I've observed Adrian, very early in the business, and I've seen him as a pioneer, moving through much more advanced technology than we were doing as kids, trying to make a mark. And it's moved pretty far along in terms of accessibility to the technology and being able to produce quickly in the 3D realm. It improves over time. So I hope he has a good leg up on us, for his investment in time earlier. But because it's changed its scope a bit, my history of film is that I wait outside of the business and then choose projects to enter in as business. And the last project I did was Ching Pao, which was set up specifically as a business model where it was simpler to produce and easier to produce, and hopefully gain the similar layer of viewership as a more expensive film would make. So I come from this angle of trying to reinterpret the tools as a hacker would, in order to come out with something that's similar that the viewer will experience.
Reverse engineering, not hacker.
Well, I have to say hacker. So currently I have stuff that I've earmarked to produce, and it involves 3D graphics and stuff. And I'm setting up therefore a 3D studio with the support Adrian may know, or other people may know. I'm mentioning your name because I'm really addressing these questions to you, Adrian. With Jason Muyong, who is in the business and very familiar with all of the technology. So there's a thing that I'd like to do from a business sense and get some advice from anybody here who has information or advice. And it was really, there's a direction towards, that the star in the business now is Unreal Engine, is what I understand. And if you apply to that, I really wanted to know, I want to keep my 3D studio alive, and I don't see it really operating in the local economy, although there will be use for it. I really want to believe, and I'm querying, if same way you have BPO, and you can have outsourced workers in the 3D industry, I would hope to really gear in there on a informal level, just basically, as Adrian says, collaborative work. But I am querying how viable this is in the world market, and also I am querying that if I as my own entity, set up a workspace where all protocols are observed for, in a proper format. If it will set me into an advantageous position to do collaborative work all over the world and therefore create new efficiencies. In other words, you create your collaborative space, which all these big guys are doing, like industrial design, Digital Light or whoever they are, they all send out to, Taiwan or whatsoever to get work done. So my query in a nutshell is, if I do familiarize or host or set the protocols for collaborative work functions, if that is an advantageous position or a common position, and two, if that sort of like beggar work thing will come down to Jamaica through a funnel if you're providing a good enough exposure, and therefore maintain your infrastructure in order to develop your own products. That's the essence of my question, directed to Adrian, who I know just as the outsider. Say I work on the periphery. He may not know what I'm doing, but I've observed him over the years, so I asked the question.
Yeah, Bruce. So, yeah, I would definitely say yes. There was definitely an opportunity there. Interestingly, I just came through the Branson program, and my whole project was about setting up exactly that sort of studio business there, and getting outsourcing work to come to Jamaica. So that's still in progress. We have some investors interested. So it's definitely an area to go. As you talk about Unreal Engine, that's really being used primarily right now for virtual sets. It was used in The Mandalorian to produce, and that's all powered by the Unreal Engine for all their backgrounds. And we're looking at a similar system. The fundamental side of it is going to be to provide an enjoyable, safe space for people to come down to work. And here in Jamaica, we just need to make sure that it's somewhere that's accessible. Not too far out in the weeds, but it's also close enough to things that they want to enjoy, so that when producers, animators, directors, filmmakers come down here to use that facility, they have access to everything else as well. But yeah, there's definitely some advantage there.
All right. Thanks, Adrian. Sansia?
Yes, there are several comments in the chat, and what I'm going to do, like I've done in the past, is to save the chat and send it to everyone, because the information, there's no way we're going to get through all of this today. Bev Campbell is asking, can Adrian please speak to the requirements for joining JAFTA for the benefit of the participants who are not aware. I also want to take this comment from Garfield Goldberg because I like it. He says, I sell JBDC everywhere I do a presentation. However, for some reason, people still seem to be unaware of the very important work JBDC does. Look at this here and the Tuesday series. How many SMEs are accessing the free information JBDC offers? So he's saying, Mr. Davis, that you could look at ramping up some more promotion for JBDC. And as one of the persons that work in the corporate communications unit that handles promotion for JBDC, of course, there's always more that we can do, but we've been doing quite a lot. But if you ask not, you receive not. So if you don't go seeking, either you won't find. Information is there. We are way out there, Mr. Goldberg. So I'm hoping that persons will be able to access this information and other information as well. We have all these videos, all these webinars that are done, they are recorded and they are placed on our YouTube page, and persons can go there and access them whenever they want to. So the information will be there. So Adrian, can you speak to the
sure.
joining JAFTA?
Yeah, just quickly, the requirements aren't that stringent. You do have to be a Jamaican citizen, and you do have to be somehow connected to the film industry. You don't have to be holding a camera, you don't have to be an actor, but you have to have some connection to the film industry, whether you provide services like catering to shoots, that sort of thing, but there needs to be some connection. And other than that, there's a nominal annual fee, and there's a corporate and individual membership.
Adrian, is there a website?
Yes, jaftaonline.com, I believe.
Right. We probably can direct, or you can just post an email in the chat for folks who need more information. an email address or something like that in the chat or the website.
All right, so there are 2 more questions that we want to take, Mr. Davis. Just these 2 more. Everything else can be placed in the chat, and as I said, I'll email it to everyone at the end of the session. So I'm going to take Shemar Grant right now. Shemar, unmute your mic. Shemar, can you hear me? Unmute your mic. All right, moving on to Tristan Alain. Tristan, go ahead with your question.
Hi, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Hey, afternoon, everyone. So I'm Tristan Alain. I'm the senior officer from the Film Commission. And I just wanted to add some context to what Adrian said earlier in response to Richard's comment about funding. It is a challenge, and it is one of the main challenges for the industry. I just wanted to share what we're doing on the government side. So what Adrian was alluding to is the Jamaica Film Fund, which was agreed in principle by the Ministry of Finance before COVID. So, you know, we'll see how that affects the timelines. But the idea is that it would be public sector funding coming from the Arts Development Fund, and then matched by private sector funding. So public sector funding would be available for pre, post, or production, and then that would be triggered by matching funds from a private sector partner. So there will still be a requirement for the private sector to be involved for co-production partners, either local or international. And I also wanted to share that because there will be a need for our local producers, creators, filmmakers to have that bilingual understanding of the financial side of creating content as well as the creative side. So we're working on mechanisms that will make funding a little bit easier for local industry. But it is taking time, and one of those challenges is that understanding of what financing for content actually entails, you know, and we'll have to lean on our creators as well to have that understanding so they can have these conversations about what the true value of their content actually is, and we can start seeing more local content being created, entering the market, and at a world standard, and then in turn more investment. So just adding that some information there to help with Richard's question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tristan. I'm gonna go ahead and try again with Shemar. Okay, go ahead, Shemar.
Yes, good morning. You hear me?
You're very muffled.
Okay.
Go ahead with your question.
You hear me now?
Yes, we're hearing you very well. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Shamar Gant, and I am the founder for the Young Filmmakers Association of Jamaica, as I had said, which is, I believe, is one of the newest film organizations in Jamaica. Basically, what we do essentially is to reach out to the younger group of filmmakers and film interests. So we reach out to persons who practically just have the interest in film and want to go into the area. As opposed to JAFTA and some other film organization, which essentially take persons who are basically in the industry or who have done major works in the industry. We tend to just look at the smaller persons. So we look at, so right now what we're focusing on is getting persons in high school who just basically have the interest and who want to go into the field of film. I will create a safe space for them so that they can build creatively in the art and the organization provides a means of practical reinforcement so that they can actually pursue film as a career in Jamaica. Some of the projects that we want to do starting up is to reach out to schools and establish more film clubs in high schools right across the island, so that we can get the persons in schools who are interested to be a part of an environment, to be a part of a group, and that group will help to foster their interest and foster their creativity in the film industry, and as well as to create a film festival that is geared solely towards high school students, so that the intimidation of having professionals in the field will not be so much of an issue, and they'll be able to express themselves fully as persons who do not necessarily have the professional standpoint and viewpoint on film. So I'm happy for this forum basically to share what the Young Filmmakers Association is doing and will be doing in the coming months or so. We reached out to JAFTA a couple weeks ago, and glad that Adrian is here so that we can move forward with certain plans for the organization. And I'm sorry that Renee left from JAMPRO. So we can reach out to these organizations as parent bodies or organizations to help to boost filmmaking and the future of filmmaking in Jamaica.
All right. Thank you very much, Shumar. And I was about to say to you before you actually mentioned it, that you need to make contact with JAFTA and be maybe an adjunct to a JAFTA, because it's very important that from the onset, as young filmmakers or aspiring filmmakers, that you are a part of a network, a bigger network of professionals, one, to get the mentoring that is certainly going to be required, and also you have some best practice international standards that you aspire to as well. So that's very, very important. I'm very, very encouraged by the work that you are doing, but I'm happy that you reached out to JAFTA, and I think you should link Dario as well, and the network, JAMPRO and so on, to make sure. And remember the offer I made earlier in terms of JBDC's assistance for capacity building from a business perspective as well. So we'd be happy to work with your group on that as well. Yeah. So thanks for that question. Sansia, are there any other questions that we're going to take, or are we going to wrap?
No, we're going to wrap now. But I just wanted to say that, as I said before, I've saved the chat so that persons can look back at the resource information that was provided inside of the group chat.
Thank you so much, Sansia, and thank you to the JBDC and JAMPRO teams for the effort in putting this together. Thank you so much, panelists. We really appreciate it. We have had really robust conversation this morning, I think, and we have had some really, really golden nuggets to take away as information from the session. Just wanted to say two things before we wrap completely. One is that Renee mentioned it earlier, that we are in the middle of doing a mapping exercise for the creative industries, generally speaking, because without information, we cannot appropriately plan, we cannot appropriately develop policy or programs and that type of thing. We cannot, in fact, know what kind of real value the industries are bringing to the economy and so on. So it's very, very important that we gather empirical data so that we can use. So we are in the process of doing that. I believe Susan just posted where you can go to take, to do the survey. It's very important that your voice is heard. I know JAMPRO is also in the process of doing an economic impact assessment for the film animation industry as well. So it's very important for you to share in those with those programs as well. You have to get your voice heard. We have to put the creative industries in the place in our economic development model that it ought to be. And we do that through the presentation of empirical data. We do that in establishing a level of professionalism, a level of quality in our craft and in our industries consistently, that can be monetized internationally and taken seriously internationally as well. That's how we do that. That's the route to do that. So thank you very much. I think we had a great session. Are we going to do that final poll, David, before everybody leaves, just to ask you how it is that the session was for you? David? Yeah, there you go. Just want to know, get an idea as to how you thought the session was, so that going forward, you know, we can adjust accordingly. Thank you so much. So as we wrap, again, thanks to our panelists. Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Dario. Thank you, Judith. And thank you, Chevonnese. Thank you to Conrad. And I mentioned as well the teams from JBDC and JAMPRO. This has been JBDC in concert, focusing on film and animation. See you same place, same. As a matter of fact, we have sessions on Tuesday as well, but those are more webinars rather than panel discussions. So watch this space for continuous information as to how it is that you participate in these learning exercises. Thank you very much and have yourselves a good afternoon.